A man is dead after shooting at Secret Service agents outside the White House yesterday. That's according to a Secret Service spokesperson. Agents then fired back, killing him. Reporters were on the North Lawn at the time filing their stories, and you can see them in this video running towards safety. I want to play a clip from the moment CBS News White House reporter Aaron Navarro heard those gunshots and ducked for cover.
Republican support on Capitol Hill is weakening.
Very scary moment there. We want to stress Aaron Navarro and other reporters who are out there are okay. We have a team covering all of this for us now. Natalie Brand is standing by at the White House. Nicole Sganga, who covers DHS, is covering the response from that agency. But we want to lead off with CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes in our Washington bureau. Nancy, great to see you and have you on the program. The president is praising the Secret Service for its response, but he also used this incident as a way to push for his ballroom. What is he saying about that?
Right. He said that this case just off the White House grounds last night, and then the incident that took place a month ago at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, where a man attempted to get into that hotel ballroom where the president and so much of his cabinet was having dinner with members of the press. He said that these are both examples of why a ballroom on White House grounds is needed, because there would be so much security surrounding it. The president wouldn't have to leave the property in order to attend events. Obviously, however, people who attended those events at the White House would have to go through that very checkpoint where the shooting took place last night. In fact, that's the checkpoint that all of us go through every single day when we go to work at the White House.
And Nancy, we've seen you report from that area so many times. Can you give us an idea of where this all went down, how close the scene was to the actual White House, how close everyone was in terms of the reporters, for people who aren't as familiar with the situation of where the White House is, where this person was found and where Secret Service shot them?
Sure. So Pennsylvania Avenue in front of the White House has been closed to automobile traffic for many years. But until recently, tourists, visitors could still walk along Pennsylvania Avenue right there in front of the White House gates, fronting Lafayette Park, to take pictures in front of the White House, to protest in front of the White House, whatever they wanted to do. That has now been largely cut off, both because there is construction taking place in Lafayette Park and also because of the threat environment. And so now the security perimeter has grown. Basically, anyone who wants to come to the White House and has a hard pass, like the one that members of the press have when they cover the White House regularly, they have to stop at 17th and Pennsylvania, which is about half a block away. They have to be waved through by the Secret Service, and then they go through more serious security screening once they get to the checkpoint right at the White House. And so almost no one besides people who are authorized to be on the White House grounds, members of the press, construction workers, are allowed to get close to the White House itself at this point. And it is at that checkpoint at 17th and Pennsylvania where this individual, who was known to the Secret Service because he had tried to get on White House grounds once before, about a year ago, that is where we're told that he took his revolver out of a bag and began firing at the Secret Service, loud enough, obviously, that reporters on the North Lawn of the White House, who were getting ready for live shots at 6:30, could hear it and duck for cover.
Yeah, I can only imagine what must have been going through their minds when they heard that. And then to see all the Secret Service out there with those long guns made it very real. Nancy Cordes, thank you. CBS News Homeland Security correspondent Nicole Sganga now. Sources tell us the suspect had a previous run-in with the Secret Service, as Nancy just mentioned, and he was known to D.C. Metro Police. What more can you tell us about his history?
Yeah, he was known to D.C. Metropolitan Police as well as the Secret Service. He had been previously charged with trespassing or attempting to trespass on White House grounds back in July of 2025, but at that point had been referred for psychiatric treatment. And even in the events that played out yesterday, we are told by witnesses and also law enforcement sources that he was not in a right state of mind, that he had claimed to be Christ or Jesus, or that he was acting on behalf of some sort of higher power, alluding to, again, the psychiatric mental health concerns. 21-year-old Nasir Best approached that White House security booth that Nancy described there and pulled a handgun out of a bag. It was at that point that he was able to get off a few shots before members of Secret Service Uniform Division did return fire. There were about 15 to 20 gunshots altogether. We do know that the suspect here had been living in D.C. for about 18 months. His family has been questioned as part of this ongoing investigation, but the criminal investigation will pretty much stop here because it was at the hospital at GW, just a short distance away from the White House, where he was declared dead shortly after this incident. And there will be, some next steps in determining if the Secret Service responded adequately to this.
And Nicole, I know this isn't your first time covering something like this, and you speak to some of these people within DHS about how to handle a response. Walk us through the Secret Service response to this incident. Did it go as expected in terms of the training?
Yeah, well, as Nancy mentioned, this has also been the third Secret Service incident really like this over the past month. There was, of course, the incident at the White House Correspondents' Dinner where an armed gunman did enter the Hilton and breach the security zone there. But there was also an incident back on May 4th at the National Mall with a passerby opening fire on Secret Service. So the threat environment is very real here, and members of law enforcement that I've been speaking to say that they have just experienced a real increase, twofold, in the number of threats against this president and this White House compared to last term. As in terms of whether or not Secret Service performed adequately, it will be the subject of a Metropolitan Police Department use of force investigation. They'll look at ballistics, they'll reconstruct the scene, they'll look at radio transmission, surveillance video to determine if officers should have de-escalated at all. But in general, if there is deadly force that is being used, if officers feel like there is an imminent threat to their life or an imminent threat of harm, they are authorized to use that deadly force. Jerika.
Right. Nicole Sganga, thank you so much. CBS News correspondent Natalie Brand joins us from the White House, that location where Aaron Navarro was yesterday. What have you heard, Natalie, from colleagues about this experience? I saw people quickly going to social media after this happened.
Yeah, Jerika, understandably, our colleagues are still shaken up because, as you've been discussing with Nicole and Nancy, this comes just a month after the White House Correspondents' Dinner. So, the same correspondents and journalists and reporters who were there, were once again ducking for cover, trying to get to safety. And, where this happened, is a place where we walk every day to get to that initial security checkpoint before you enter the secure part of the White House. And it's also, as Nicole was talking about, not the first time in recent weeks since the White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting where we've been on lockdown because of that incident that happened near the National Mall. That was another scary situation where we all went running inside the briefing room. You're on lockdown for a period of time, not knowing exactly what's going on, trying to get information. So fortunately, everyone is okay, but we are just thinking about our colleagues, the journalists who were out here, and obviously the Secret Service and other staff who relived this very scary experience.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Natalie, while we have you, I want to talk about what's going on with Iran. Obviously, there's been talk of a possible deal. What do we know specifically at this hour about those negotiations?
Yeah, we got an update this morning from some senior administration officials. And from what we've learned, there is what they're calling kind of a broad template for a draft agreement. And it's believed that the supreme leader in Iran, agrees to or has approved of these basic principles. U.S. officials say it includes an agreement by Iran to dispose of its highly enriched uranium. It's important to note, though, not clear at this point who would dispose of the uranium. The president has said he wants the U.S. to do it do that, how that would happen, and the final details, have not been ironed out here. U.S. negotiators also say that there needs to be a commitment to forego future enrichment or have some sort of moratorium on enrichment of uranium for a period of time. That's something else that we've been discussing as these negotiations have progressed. But ultimately, they've signaled reaching a deal kind of hinges on that issue of really getting the nuclear issues just right. The other big piece of this is the goal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz without restrictions. That means no tolls. And in return for that, the U.S. would lift its naval blockade on Iranian ports and Iranian-linked ships.
A lot of people interested to see how this all plays out and its impact, especially on those gas prices. Natalie Brand, thank you so much.